Hello everyone, I am Jigyasa Chauhan and welcome back to our channel Jain Classes Fundamental Year. So in this video, I will explain you all about Class 8 Civics chapter number 2 which is Understanding Secularism. So basically in this chapter, as the name of the chapter suggests, we are going to discuss about secularism. Like what is secularism? What is Indian secularism? We are going to discuss all these things. So first of all, suppose that you are going in a foreign country where there isn't anyone from your religion group, from your religion community, and they are following any other religion, and because you aren't from their religion group, they are discriminating you, they are dominating you. So would you feel right? No, you won't feel right, you will be angry. And there can be two kind of expression. First is retaliation. That is, you would think that when they come to your country, when you be in majority and they would be in minority, you would also discriminate them, you will dominate them. And second is, you want justice. You think that all the religions should be treated equally and there shouldn't be any discrimination on the grounds of religion. And this is the concept of secularism. This is secularism, where there isn't any discrimination on the basis, on the grounds of religion, and all the religions should be treated equally. So in this chapter, we are going to discuss this secularism. So our first topic is, what is secularism? So history provides us with many examples like about how many people were discriminated on the basis of their religion. They were dominated by their religion, on the basis of their religion, on the grounds of their religion. If we take an example of Hitler, about thousands of millions of people were executed, were persecuted by Hitler because they were Jews. The Jews were persecuted, were executed by Hitler. And in Pakistan, you might have heard about that. In Pakistan, the Hindus are discriminated in Pakistan. So what is secularism? So secularism refers to the separation of religion and state. So there is a kind of separation between these two systems, the state and the religion, which means that if we take an example of India, where Hinduism is in majority, and which means that according to the separation of power of religion and state, means that the power of state, the official power of the country, is not given to any particular religion which is in majority. Like in India, the Hinduism is in majority and the power of state is not given to Hinduism, or not given to the majority, not given to any particular religion. So our next topic is, why is it important to separate religion from the state? So you might get confused that why there is a separation of state and religion. Why there is this separation between these two systems? So if we try to answer this question, so first of all, let me tell you that India is a democratic country. In India, democracy is allowed. It is not following any monarchy system or any dictatorship system. It is following democracy. And in democracy, the citizens are equal. And in our India, the people are having many rights to protect themselves from the tyranny of the state, which means that the state can't discriminate them on the basis of their religion. So if we take an example of India, in India, Hinduism is in majority, and if all the power of the state, all the official power of the state, all the official power of the country is given to the hands of those who are in majority, is given to Hinduism, what will happen? The Hinduism can easily discriminate against the minorities, against those who are in minorities like Muslims, Sikhs, Christian. And to stop this, there is a kind of separation between the state and between the religion. There is a strict separation between these two systems to protect the citizen from the state, because the majority can easily dominate those who are in minority if they are having the state power. And secondly, to protect individuals. Like if we take an example of a boy and he wants to join another religion due to some reason, like he is so disgusted by untouchability, by the practice of untouchability. It is a kind of practice between the upper caste and lower caste. The lower castes are called so lower that they are not allowed to be touched by the upper caste, and the upper caste people don't feel good to touch to even to touch these lower caste people. And the boy is so disgusted by this practice that he wants to join any other religion. But the member of his religion, the member of his community, his religion don't want him to change his religion. Then what would happen? His fundamental right, his freedom would be cut. His fundamental right would be abolished by those who are from his religion. And to protect these individuals, there is a separation of state and religion. So we can finally say that there is a separation of state and religion due to two reasons. First is to protect the citizen against the tyranny of the state, and secondly to protect the individuals, to protect their freedom, to protect the freedom of individuals. So our next topic is, what is Indian secularism? So in this topic we are going to discuss about Indian secularism. So as we all know that India is a secular country, and we have discussed in the previous chapter also, secularism is one of the key features of the Indian constitution. So in Indian secularism there are mainly three objectives. First is the member of one religion don't discriminate against the member of another religion. Like if we take an example, Hinduism is in majority and it can't discriminate against any other religion like Muslim, Sikhs, Christian, etc. And second is the member of the same religion should not discriminate against the member of the same religion. Like in Hinduism there is upper caste and lower caste. The upper caste should not discriminate against the lower caste. And the third objective, that the citizen of India should not be discriminated by the state. They should be protected by the tyranny of the majority, by the tyranny of the state. Like if we take an example, Hinduism is in majority, and if it is in majority, they should not discriminate against the minorities, the religion which is in majority. So to prevent these kind of domination, these type of communal domination, India has adopted three strategies. First is strategy of distancing itself from religion, which means that the state should not promote any one religion as the official religion of the country, nor it discriminate against religion. Like if you take an example, in our country, in public school, courts, public colleges, they can't promote any one religion. That is the reason that why the religious festivals are not celebrated in public schools. Second is strategy of non-interference, which means that the government, the state should not interfere in the religious matters. Like if there is a person, he wants to grow long beard, he wants to grow long mustaches, then he can. If it is written in his religion, then he can do this. And the state shall not hurt any individual's religious sentiments. And if we take an example of this strategy, the Sikh, if there is a Sikh person and he wants to wear a pagdi in road, then he can. And you might have heard that in our country there is a strict order by the government to wear helmet if you are going in on two-wheelers. But for Sikh, there is a kind of exception, because if a person is wearing a pagdi, then how can he wear a helmet? Then he can wear pagdi nor helmet. So the third strategy is strategy of intervention. So these two strategies, the strategy of non-interference and the strategy of intervention, are a kind of contradiction. Like in the previous strategy, the government can't interfere in the matter of religious matters. But if there is something wrong in his religion, like if a person is saying that he can kill even a person, he can even sacrifice a human being because it is written in his religion, then he can't do these things, because if it is written in his religion, he can't do anything which is wrong for others. He can't abolish other person's freedom, other person's liberty. So if we take an example of this strategy, in our country the untouchability which was practiced in the name of religion has been abolished, has been banned by the government. So India is being a unique secular country in the whole world. How? If we compare its secularism by other secular countries, you can notice that in the secularism of US, there is a strict separation between the state and religion, which means that neither the state nor the religion can interfere in the matter of each other. The government is not responsible for religious matters and the religions are not responsible for state affairs. But in India, there is a separation between the state and religion, but the state can also intervene in the religious matter, for example, banning untouchability. And if we compare it to the French secularism, in French secularism, there is no alliance for like you can't wear you can't wear religious sentiments like you can't wear pagri, you can't wear crosses like Jewish skull cap. But in India, there is a strategy of non-interference. You can wear them. You can wear them while going outside your home. And if we compare it again to US secularism, in US secularism, the students are not allowed to sing their religious prayer in schools. But in India, they can. So in this way, the Indian secularism is being different from other countries' secularism. It is being unique in the whole world. So this was the last topic of this chapter. I have covered all the topics. So thank you very much.